Should they be putting this on children? No, they shouldn't. Should we be acting like this is a natural relationship? No, we shouldn't be acting like this is a natural relationship. But this is the world that we live in. And they can do whatever they want to do. Not because I said so, but because God literally gave them free will to do whatever they want to do. But if you're asking me, if you came up to me on the street and you asked for my opinion, I'm going to tell you that it's a sin because that's what it is. I love Elliot to death. I love all these men in my life to death. But that doesn't mean that we finna get out the crates of baby oil and start freaking off. There's a difference. There's a natural way. And then there's an unnatural way. And this world wants to try to blend the two as if they're one and the same, but it's not the same thing. All right, y'all, Caillou. They just did some stuff on Caillou, man. I don't know how old this is. I don't know the date of which this episode aired. According to the comments, this was not actually on PBS. And I don't even know if Caillou was still on PBS, but this was aired on YouTube. So I have no clue when this aired, but it aired. And a lot of people are tripping, and I get it. I understand. You know, you got to look at television for what it is. It's programming. It's very intentional what they're doing on TV. There's a reason why these are called television programs. These are meant to get you to think in a certain way. You know, these things that we watch on TV, not everything, but you know, there's a handful of stuff that we watch on TV that is meant to get you thinking and seeing the world from a certain perspective, a perspective that is pleasing, not to God, but is pleasing to the world. So it's no surprise that you see stuff like this, right? Now, Caillou, I haven't watched Caillou in so long, man. My kids used to watch Caillou. This was years ago. They used to watch Caillou. And I couldn't stand Caillou because every time Caillou was on the TV screen, this kid's always complaining about something. I'm like, Caillou, you always whining, bro. You always whining. You never content. You never happy. But this is the one time Caillou is happy to see this happen. On top of that, I'm like, man, when is this? Never mind. I'm not going to say it. That's kind of mean. I'm not going to make a bald joke, even though I'm bald. Well, not really. I still have remnants of a hairline. I still have remnants. I still got some follicles, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to make a bald joke. But here's the thing. Should they be putting this on children? No, they shouldn't. Should we be acting like this is a natural relationship? No, we shouldn't be acting like this is a natural relationship. But this is the world that we live in. And they can do whatever they want to do. Not because I said so, but because God literally gave them free will to do whatever they want to do. So if you want to love whoever you want to love, then that's fine. And listen, this is going to sound crazy. Don't take this out of context. I love men. Once again, don't take that out of context. I love men. There's men in my life who I love. If you're a woman, I'm sure that there's women in your life that you love, right? I can think about my brothers. I have two brothers. I love them to death. My dad, love him to death. I have friends, love them to death. My best friend Elliot was the one who said that Jesus loved me in a time where I felt like ending it. And he told me that Jesus loved me. And that led me to go to church, and that led me to get into community. That led me to open up my Bible. That led me to ultimately where I am now, right? I love Elliot to death. I love all these men in my life to death. But that doesn't mean that we finna get out the crates of baby oil and start freaking off. There's a difference. There's a natural way. And then there's an unnatural way. And this world wants to try to blend the two as if they're one and the same, but it's not the same thing. A man and a man, a woman and a woman getting married is not the same thing as a woman and a man getting married. That is the natural way. Not because I say so, but because that is what is modeled to us in the Word of God. And I'm a Christian, so of course I'm going to have a Christian perspective. And the reason why I keep saying that is because I know that there's non-Christians watching this video. I know for a fact that there's atheists watching this video. I know that y'all monitor what I post, and I know that y'all are listening and watching. So that's why I continue to say that, even though the majority of my audience is Christian. Here's the argument that a lot of people would like to make. A lot of people say, well, here's the reason why it's unnatural. And I'm starting to not like this argument more and more. And this is an argument that I've used many times. And people will say, well, it's unnatural because they can't produce children. And that's why it's sinful. That's why it's sinful. That's why it's unnatural, because they can't produce children. But I think that's actually a janky argument. And the reason why I think that's janky is because Jesus didn't have kids. Was Jesus sinful? Was Jesus unnatural? Of course not. So I think that's a janky argument. But I think the better example is in Genesis. Adam and Eve. God said it's not good for man to be alone. God could have provided Adam unlimited possibilities. But God was very clear, was very intentional with the individual that he provided Adam, which was Eve, a woman. And I think this is beautiful because this clearly shows that men and women, they go together. It works. It's natural. It's beautiful. But there's a lot of people who fall into this attraction unnaturally, and that attraction becomes their identity. And like, let's just keep it real. I've already said crazy things, so let's just continue saying crazy things. I could see somebody on the street, like I could see a dude on the street and I could be like, okay, yeah, that dude is good looking. Like I can recognize that. I'm sure a lot of people could recognize somebody of the same sex that is good looking or that you would deem to be quote unquote attractive. Like you could see these things. Like we're human beings. But does that mean that I want to carry out that perceived attraction and be with that person and sleep with that person? No, I'm simply recognizing like, okay, yeah, I could see that that person is attractive. Okay, cool. Keep it pushing. Keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? But I think some people, and this is tricky because sometimes it does result from trauma. Sometimes it does result from your upbringing and what you were subjected to as a child and what your parents allowed in your environment, both physically and spiritually as children, that leads you to this direction. Or sometimes I heard that there was a story about a kid who was pinned up against, the locker room and a boy kissed him and he liked it. And then from there, it was like, oh, I guess I'm attracted. And I guess that attraction is ultimately going to be my identity. And I guess I'm only going to date men because that's what feels quote unquote natural to me. Right. But there's always going to be a way that seems right to us. But that doesn't mean that it's right from the perspective of God. Right. You hear what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people, they see something, they get attracted, and then that attraction becomes their identity. That identity of that attraction leads them to all types of different sin and different temptations. That burning desire, that sin that burns inside of them, that temptation that burns inside of them, it feels so gripping that they can't let go of it, that they have to submit to their sin, and therefore they find themselves experimenting and going deeper into their experiments. And now they're in a situation where they feel like they were born this way and that this is the way that God made them, when in all reality, this is the way that the world made you. This is what the world molded you into. It was nothing to do with God. God gave us a clear example of man and woman. God told us that that's good right there. That right there, go ahead and be fruitful and multiply with that. A man and a woman, go be fruitful. We never see that same command with a man or a woman and a woman to go be fruitful. That doesn't mean that you're automatically fruitful because you're with, the opposite sex. That doesn't mean that because you're heterosexual that you're attracted to, like myself, that I'm attracted to women, more specifically my wife. That doesn't mean that we're automatically, you see what I did there? Yeah, I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I gotta cover my bases. That doesn't mean that we're automatically fruitful though. Just because my wife and I come together, that doesn't mean that we're automatically fruitful. We can still choose to be disobedient because we still have free will. But that is the place where fruitfulness can occur. That is the place where you can bear fruit, is between a man and a woman in a marriage. Now you can go be fruitful and multiply. That's not the same thing with a man or a woman and a woman. And like I said, I'm not saying anything hateful. You're free to do whatever you want to do. You're free to do whatever you want to do. But if you're asking me, if you came up to me on the street and you asked for my opinion, I'm going to tell you that it's a sin. Because that's what it is. But guess what? If you're not concerned about that, then live on, right? Do what you want to do. If you are concerned about that and you're claiming to be a Christian, okay, then let's try to figure out from a heart level what's going on, because your discernment is cloudy. You're not seeing clearly. You're not seeing from the perspective of the scriptures. You're seeing from the perspective of the world. You're seeing from the perspective of your lust. You're seeing from the perspective of the desires that are in you, that are unnatural, that were placed in you by the world, not by God. And so it's no surprise, to bring this back around, that you see these seeds being planted at the children level at such an early age, because of course, children are the most vulnerable. Their brain is literally still developing. They're still trying to figure out what the heck is going on in this world. They're still trying to regulate their emotions. They're still trying to stop peeing the bed. There's a lot going on with kids. Like up here, emotionally, physically, spiritually, there's a lot going on. If you can get to a child and plant those seeds into a child, oh yeah, you could definitely change the course of, their perspective leading into adulthood. So it's no secret that they're starting there, because as adults, we're pretty much stuck in our ways. I mean, obviously there's testimonies, there's radical transformation. God can do an amazing work at any age, but just speaking from a factual standpoint, adults are more stuck in their ways. It's easy for them to plant these seeds into children than it is adults, because, we got experiences and we're a little bit more stubborn. But children are very understanding. They're very vulnerable. They're just very innocent. So of course the enemy is going to try to contaminate that innocence in whatever way that he can. It's not a secret. It's not a surprise. Did I say too much? Now we good? Hey, that's what I think. I don't really even let my kids watch like TV like that. Like they watch Superbook. I mean, it's kind of tricky, but I mean, they watch Superbook. The reason why I say it's kind of tricky is because like I have a little of a blended situation. You know what I mean? So the same views that I have are not necessarily the same views of the entirety of my family. And that's even another reason why it's like, man, you know, when you put yourself in these blended situations, it's difficult because oftentimes, the views and the beliefs don't align. The discernment is not equal, you know? The yoke is not the same. So it's like, it's tough. But I try to just have my children watch Christ-led content. And besides that, it's slim pickings. But let me know what y'all think. All right. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.